In 1865, the novelist George Eliot observed that the designers working to banish ugliness from our streets were engaged in a democratic project on par with the invention of the printing press. The Industrial Revolution had coated her world in grime. Millions of people were suddenly living in dingy manufacturing towns, walking past staring shop fronts, and looking out through poorly proportioned windows. Eliot argued this constant, daily exposure to bad taste acted as an environmental toxin. She called it an aesthetic malaria. Living inside a chaotic, ugly environment takes a measurable psychological toll. Eliot noted that this persistent visual static actively breeds bad tempers, encourages resentment, and dulls the external senses. To Eliot, the aesthetic quality of our surroundings dictates our baseline mental state. The shapes and colors we live inside shape our capacity for moral and intellectual focus. If ugliness acts as a toxin, Eliot reasoned that fine harmonies of color and line must possess a physical, sanative influence. Just as harsh noise causes stress, balanced aesthetics provide a form of relief. She suggested that our physical systems respond to these patterns even when we aren't consciously looking at them. In her view, a well-proportioned room serves as a steadying influence for the nerves. When our eyes are forced to navigate erratic, jagged lines, chaotic visual information, it creates mental fatigue. But when we process smooth, rhythmic waves, balanced, intentional design, it aligns with our need for order and clarity. Recognizing this link between the eye and the mind elevates the act of decoration. It shifts from a frivolous luxury to a matter of public health. We cannot afford to simply tear down and rebuild the ugly external architecture of entire industrial cities. The scale of the problem is too massive. The most practical solution lies in our interior spaces. We can affordably and regularly modify the rooms where we spend the majority of our time. By selecting specific everyday elements, like this repeating gold damask wallpaper, well-crafted draperies, and carefully chosen carpets, we can change the psychological baseline of a home. Focusing on the inside democratizes beauty. It ensures that this mental upgrade reaches everyone, moving effortlessly from a royal palace down to a clerk's humble parlor. This practical revolution found its textbook in 1856, when architect Owen Jones published his masterwork, The Grammar of Ornament. This was a massive, heavy folio. It was built to sit on a desk and be absorbed through hours of deep, rigorous study. This chart shows the Egyptian No. 4 plate, featuring a full grid of ancient border designs illustrating the global scope of his research. Jones categorizes these ancient motifs, breaking thousands of years of complex art into digestible, specific data points. And the book moves far beyond antiquity. Jones documents the aesthetic achievements of Celtic, Islamic, and Renaissance cultures, cataloging intricate carved stone patterns and geometric tiling from around the globe. He compiled humanity's finest aesthetic achievements into a single archive, engineering a systematic cure for the modern industrial eyesore. Despite presenting this massive archive of historical patterns, Jones explicitly warned artists against tracing them. He argued that design contains a strict grammar. Visual form relies on an underlying structural logic, operating exactly the way language does. Look at this pattern dissolving into its base syntax. In design, an irrelevant line is as useless as a random word, but when combined according to the correct rules, these elements reassemble dynamically to create a coherent visual sentence. True mastery requires understanding the structural rules behind a pattern, rather than mimicking its surface-level shape. The logic of these rules is visible in a time-lapse of a fern unfurling. Biological growth follows strict geometric principles, expanding through consistent symmetrical ratios. History's greatest artists studied these botanical structures. They didn't attempt literal photographic imitations of nature. They extracted its mechanical laws and applied them to their work. Jones left modern artists with a clear mandate. We have to take these ancient and natural principles to originate new designs that are logically grounded. By mastering this grammar, we can replace the friction of industrial ugliness with environments that reflect the same logic found in the natural world.